What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to version 1. It's me. I'm not dead. I've been on a kind of unintentional hiatus, not out of choice, just some things I had to sort out behind the scenes. No other real way to put it than had some personal things I had to deal with. I was going to do a video on it because I had a lot of you guys asking where I was, where the content was, and obviously I appreciate your concern, but there is a level of things that I don't want to keep, I don't want to put my entire life on the internet. So this video today is just something we're going to do inside, because I was going to go out and film because the weather is beautiful, but the wind is mental, so it would sound like that up in front of the microphone and you won't be able to hear anything I'm saying. Anyway, so before we get into the video, obviously appreciate all those new subs that have come along while I've been standing around doing nothing, but also those guys that did drop me a message and stuff and check in on me. I'm fine. Appreciate you guys dropping me a message and stuff. Hopefully the content and stuff will continue flowing as the weather gets better and there'll be more cars out and stuff, so different reviews, not just stuff on the Meg. So I'm looking forward to the stuff that's to come. Today's video concept is simple. We're going to be talking today about the stigma behind buying an already modified car. As I see a lot of stuff going around on forums about, people that are really reluctant to touch anything with any mods on, and then there's the people that are looking for only specifically unmodified cars. So we're going to delve into it a little bit deeper today and look at the pros and cons of why you should or shouldn't buy an already modified car. Let's do it. So as per usual, before we get into today's video, make sure you leave it a thumbs up rating if you enjoy this content, and it'd be sick if you subscribe to the channel, as obviously we're pushing really, really hard this year. Well, trying to push really, really hard this year on pushing to the next benchmark. So just a little explanation of where this concept came from is, like I say, on different numerous forums and stuff, I've been seeing stuff where people are very reluctant. They want a car that's been completely untouched, and I completely get that. But what made me think about it was there's certain things, especially with more subtle mods and stuff, that would be more of a reason I'd buy a modified car over a standard car. But we'll jump into those pros and cons and everything in a minute. But what I mean, for example, is with my Megane, if someone's looking to buy a Mark IV that's lowered, low mileage, well looked after, 18s, my car ticks all those boxes, doesn't it? But if they're not a fan of the Maxim front lip, then they can just take it off and stuff like that. So that's what I mean. So there's certain mods that have to be considered that are irreversible, which we'll get to later on in the list. But let's start things off with the pros to buying a modified car. So starting things off with, the mods on the car might be actually something that you want. So for example, if you were looking, I know personally, when I got a Meg, I didn't specifically want one standard, but when I was looking, it had to have the Recaros and the EDC and whatever, and there wasn't many people modifying the Mark IV platform at that time. So I was always going to drop down to 18s. So if I didn't have a Meg and I saw my one for sale, for example, on the 18s, on the Pro Tracks, the Pro Track ones were the exact wheels that I wanted. If I saw that, then that would sway me towards potentially buying that car. But obviously, again, when we get later in the list, mods do mean a certain type of drive style potentially, and other things that could lead into less positive experiences with the car. But with all mods, obviously, those things do have to be considered. Buying an already modified car could also save you money. Now hear me out. I know it doesn't make complete sense off the rip, but when you're buying modifications for cars, just because the wheels were 1,500 quid doesn't add £1,500 of value to the car, obviously, as most of you know. But it normally doesn't add any value at all, because for some reason, the mods, especially if you're going to go, if you're going to chip the car in for another car at a dealer and stuff like that, when I did it with the Clio, I pulled a load of mods off, because they literally said to me without telling me, they were like, yeah, your car's worth the same with or without the mods. Obviously, if you sell privately, you'll get a couple more grand on top, if you're running the sort of mods that I'm running. But when you add everything up for the wheels, the tyres, the suspension, the exhaust, the map, the intake, the intercooler, it's £4 grand plus worth of modifications on that car, and I'd probably get, if I sold that privately, maybe 2, not even that on top, 1,500 on top, but that would be mainly because of the condition and the EDC, Recaros, and the fact that it's only done 17,000 miles. So it's one of them things where, like I say, they could be the mods that you're after, and that could potentially persuade you into buying that modified car in the first place. So instead of buying all those modifications and then putting them on yourself, if that's the thing you're looking for, or something of similar style, then you can elaborate on that. Make it your own if you want, maybe change the colour and stuff if it's not the colour that you're after. But if the parts are on the car, that they're going to save you money. If you were going to remap exhaust, intake and wheels and they're all there, then it could potentially save you. Well, it's going to save you money indefinitely, because it's probably £3,000, £4,000 worth of stuff there that you're probably going to end up paying maybe £1,500 over the original car's price. Now, depending on the extremity of these mods, normally a modified car will be owned by an enthusiast. Now, I know that doesn't stand for everyone, but especially the guys I'm on forums with and I'm on groups with, people are very precious about their belongings and their cars and stuff. And I know, like I said, not everyone is, but likelihood is if you come along a clean car that's been well maintained, it's got service history, it's got decent tyres on it, the wheels aren't all chipped and curved, that they've cared for their car. If obviously there's more stuff like ceramic coating on your paint, PPF and stuff, which is like people going for the extra mile, and they're the guys that are really, really, really going to look after your car, after the car, sorry. And when you're buying a modified car, when you look at those things, they shouldn't be, just because the car's modified or just because the car has certain things done to it, it shouldn't be enough to turn you off, especially if it's been enthusiast owned, because it will be meticulously looked after, probably garaged or whatever else, put in some sort of lockup overnight, maybe even only used at weekends. So it's one thing worth considering, is that most modified cars of this sort of caliber will be owned by someone that cares for them, and they won't be just thrashed about, ragged from cold and stuff like that. So enthusiast owned cars are going to be the ones to look for if you're going to buy a modified car or modified example. One thing worth noting is these mods will be worth more than the standard parts. If you're looking at, say, a Meg Mark IV, it's got wheels you don't like, but you like the splitter, you like the colour, you like the spec, the wheels will be worth more than your standard. So say, for example, I sold my car and someone didn't like the Pro Tracks.
Are you fucking blind?
You could just whip them off and buy another set. Or buy another set, then whip them off and sell them, because the Pro Tracks sell for decent money. And it might not be your style, but then that's, again, a way of you making the car your own, or even if you change the colour. But the mods, the aftermarket mods, will be worth more for resale. So even if you wanted to whip off the lower end springs and stuff and put standards back, most people will keep the standard parts as well as these people with mods. I know I do. There's I've still got the standard springs, still got the standard exhaust, all stuff like that. So all of that stuff is there for if the person after me wishes to return the car back to standard. But it's one thing worth considering. Obviously, the price of the aftermarket stuff is probably going to be worth more and will probably get snapped up quite quickly, especially if you put it up for a fairly reasonable price. Now, the obvious one, you guys are probably already thinking what I haven't said yet, it's faster. Modifications on your car means 9 out of 10 times your car's faster, unless your car's been tuned by Fisher Price or a tuning box. No, I'm not getting it. So yeah, your car can be faster, will be faster with modifications. It's as simple as that. How much faster? It depends on how far they've gone with the modifications. As I've mentioned previously, you can go subtle mods for noise, looks, but then obviously delve right in and get that sort of OEM plus, like that little bit extra sauce that you sometimes cars feel like they should have come like that from factory, but that's just, that's normally what everyone says as soon as they get a remap. The obvious thing, the modifications mean your car's going to be faster than a standard. So if you meet another one at the lights and it's standard, you're going to do the choppage. Final thing I've got down here on the pros list is that now we have the luxury of all these forums and Facebook groups and stuff, and you're probably going to be able to track down the previous owner. Now, this happened with my Clio. When I got rid of that, the car went to Tamworth BMW, then it went to auction, and then the guy bought it from auction. And the guy that ended up buying it dropped me a message because he'd seen my videos, and we were having a chat about the Clio and how it was looked after and stuff, and I explained everything, the mods that were on there when I gave the car away, which was sneaky because they did take some off. Now, they put the standard airbox back on and stuff, pulled as much aftermarket stuff stuff off as they could. Like I say, these forums and those groups are great for that, because if you are looking for a modified car, 9 out of 10 times, if you put in V14ASH, previous owner on here, looking to buy this car, it's at so-and-so, because obviously the car can move around the country and move between dealers and stuff. You can go on there, and likelihood is someone will know the owner or send you their way, so you can have a one-to-one with the guy that's going to buy the car and let them know the ins and outs of everything that the car's been up to. Now, with modifications comes a price. Unfortunately, that comes for a lot of younger drivers. Modifications on a car might make it completely impossible for that person to buy that car. Now, if a young person is looking to buy a modified car in that sense, the level of the mods will definitely affect, because if it's wheels and, you know, a Maxton, then they'll probably get away with it. But not talking like Megane, I'm talking other stuff, just cars that are modified in general. If you're going to get your car and then they're going to declare all their mods and stuff, you know, it's going to be, some people won't even insure a young driver with modifications at all. Now, I know obviously that depends on the insurer and how much money the kid's got and stuff like that, and you know, if they're looking into that sort of thing, but it's definitely worth considering, because some mods will make insuring cars very hard for younger drivers. Now, this kind of leans into being a con, but also a little bit of a pro as well, is like, you can't tell how the car's been driven. When you see mods, you're going to assume, like I say, that the car's been driven spiritedly, and probably right. The difference being is you're not going to ever be able to tell that, and I think when you buy a certain sporty model of car, you always run that risk anyway. Unless you buy a completely standard car that's been looked at, like had one owner and a fairly older man or woman.
Fish of them.
And it's been, you know, serviced and done 15,000 miles, and you know that it's been probably barely ever stood on. But with the modifications, obviously then means that they might be driving it in a certain kind of way. Again, not to say that's completely negative, but it's one thing worth considering, and obviously, like I say, wear and tear of the car will probably be a good sign of how that car's been looked after. Another thing buying a sporty sort of car in some sort of direction is that it's probably most likely been on track. Not all cars go on track, I appreciate that, but a lot of guys that buy, you know, RSs or sportier models in that kind of direction, they are going to end up on track one way or another at some point, even if it's 1-2 track days. But it's something worth considering, because you can notice track damage. Like, I've seen cars that loads of stone chips in the front, you know, like marks on the wheels and stuff like that, which is just general wear and tear of track, which is fair enough. In the for sale description, if it's not mentioned that it's been on track, or you ask the owner, has this ever been tracked, then, you know, you're going to have to use your eyes to figure that out. So looking for track damage, like I say, stone chips and stuff like that, may not be enough to turn you off the car, but it'll be worth knowing if the car has been on track, because the main issue is going to be the wear and tear. The wear and tear on parts obviously on track are like 4 times, 5 times worse, because on the roads you'll boot it between traffic lights, you know, go around some B road, you're sending it, you know, you're doing it for like 30 seconds. You've got to imagine you're doing that round Snetterton, for example, over 2-minute laps, and you're on it the whole time. And I know you probably only do 3 and come in and stuff like that, which is fair enough, but still, that's hard driving from start to finish, which is very, very different. And then having it round, you know, going around doing the back roads and stuff like that, there's a very, very big difference. So looking for track damage could be an indication of the car being driven in a certain kind of way. Like I say, we're like wear and tear, like a little bit more wear and tear on the car than you potentially would want. Now, on a lot of these forums, I see one of the first mods to do alongside a remap is a downpipe, which will include some sort of GPF decap, which is where the performance is being blocked, obviously, because of the lack of airflow from the downpipe. You want to free that up and get as much sort of airflow, get the exhaust gases out as quickly as possible. Now, obviously, a lot of people have friendly MOT guys, which is fair enough. But if you don't have one, that is definitely one worth considering, because if you buy a car with a decal on, you're going to have to be jumping through a lot of hoops to try and get that car through an MOT. So it would be a case of you potentially putting a cap back in, or like I say, having a friendly MOT guy that will sort you out, you know, kind of blinded by money, you know the meme. Put the meme up now. Now, modifications on newer cars, some of them can actually void warranty. I've been asked this several times, you know, has your car ever been stopped for warranty work because of this, because of that? Majority of the time, they're normally pretty safe about it. So if the mod isn't directly accountable for that error, so say for example, your car's gone in with a misfire and you've got a different exhaust system on it, or you've got aftermarket wheels, they're not going to go, I ain't touching the car because you've done this. If it's directly connected, for example, you go in, your turbo's shit itself, and you're running a tune, do you know what I mean? Then that you've got no leg to stand on at that point, because you've pushed parts that you're then looking to repair under warranty. But obviously a tune will void warranty. Obviously first you've got to prove it, but that's a whole different kind of thing. But majority of the time, like I say, there are mods that can be reversed and stuff like that, so it's not really a massive deal. But there are, like I say, just be careful, because some mods on some cars, because you can make the warranty longer. If when you buy the car, say it's 2 years old and it's got 3 years, you can extend the warranty and stuff like that. But if there's mods on the car and then you extend the warranty to say 5 years, and you have an issue in 4 years, you take the car in and they go, we're not touching it because that's been done to it, then you've wasted your money on a warranty that is basically null and void. So just bear that in mind when you're buying more modern cars. They're getting a bit more finicky. Now, another con to buying a modified car is it means you can't do it yourself. Now, I know that sounds ridiculous and it's contradictory in some sort of direction, but some people want the car to be their own. For example, I was looking for a car with my mods on. Well, that would be the direction I wanted to go with it. If I was looking and I found one with those mods on, it wouldn't turn me off personally. I'd be like, oh, sick, that's exactly how I want it. I might change the colour of the wheels a little bit, change some little bits to make it my own. But if it was there like that, I'd have it. But some people do want to have their car completely standard, so it's all their mods and all their work, which I also completely understand, because that's been me as well. I didn't plan on buying the car standard or modified, but I ended up with a completely standard model, and that meant that all of the modifications that have been done 9 out of 10 times by me. So I know exactly where the car's been, I know exactly how the car's been treated while that stuff's been done. So I do understand having a car completely bare bones, so that you can do all the mods yourself, and then you know exactly where it's been, and you know that the stuff's been done with a certain degree of quality.
Why are you coming fast?
He took me out. Final thing on the list, I've put some mods can devalue the car. What I mean by that is certain things are irreversible. If you're chopping stuff up, drilling, do you know what I mean? Things that can't be taken off. Luckily, with bolt-on stuff, and a lot of stuff these days is bolt-on, bolt-off. So you can, if I wanted to, within a couple of days, my car could be back to completely standard, completely reversible. Now, that's not to say some of those mods won't be difficult to get off. Some of them, like, you know, but a lot of the side, like the max and rear lip, double-sided tape. The front's just got normal fixings. As soon as you take them out, you're not going to see it. You're just going to look like nothing was there. The wheels, put the standard ones back on, take the spacers off, take the springs out. You know, everything can just go back to normal. But if you're looking at, like I say, the more extreme side of modifications, this doesn't obviously count for like the OEM plus stuff. But if people are cutting up stuff for wings, cutting up stuff for skirts, bumpers, you know, body kits in general, stuff that requires editing of the original car, then obviously that stuff is irreversible, and it means that it could potentially devalue the car, because then you're going to be looking for a certain specific kind of person to buy that car. Where my car, yes, it's modified, but it's not what I would call extreme in any way, shape or form. But you know what I'm saying, some mods are completely irreversible, and like I say, bolt-on flares and big body kits and wings and stuff like that, and those are the sort of things that obviously can devalue the car. Modified cars don't seem to hold their price as much as a completely standard car anyway, especially if it's a kind of like sought after model as well. If you've gone a little bit too far with a sought after model, then you'll probably find that the unmolested version will probably sell for a lot more. So what do you guys think? Would you buy a modified car, or would you prefer to buy a standard car and do all the mods yourself? Let me know in the comments as per usual, because this is kind of like something I wanted to go over, because I feel like there's more pros than cons, but that's just me personally. Now I understand both sides, because it's easy for me to say because I've done all the mods myself. But at the same time, I wouldn't be turned off if my car was already like it and I bought it as it is, if that makes sense. Obviously, when you buy any sporting model, they're going to be driven spiritedly. That is what they're designed for. So it's not like it's been driven out of its means. Like I say, general condition of car is a very, very telltale sign of how that thing's been looked after. So make sure you smash a like rating on this video if you enjoyed this sort of content. Subscribe to the channel if you are new here, and as per usual, get down at me in the comments and let me know what you're saying. Have I missed anything? Have I missed any pros or cons to buying a modified car? Let me know down in the comments and we'll have a little chat about it, as we always do. To conclude, don't sleep on a modified car, but just do your homework on the mods and where they've come from. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.